Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with my ever-effervescent, always looking at the bright side, and stronger than 10 moving men, wifey, Jessica Lee. Woohoo! If you've ever been uncomfortable with change or not knowing what's coming next, then do we have the Positive Power of Change show for you. Today we'll be talking about the power of intention plus stirring up memories and rewriting our futures to help us cut the cords to the past and set our hot air balloons free. That plus we'll talk about insane synchronicities, group coaching miracles, how Lovebug got her voice on, and who in the world kidnapped Lufa the snail. Gotcha. So welcome back to the show, Jessica. Are you ready to shine?
It's been a while, Michael, so yes.
Woo!
I've been charging up.
All right, so I'm going to let you dive right in. Do you want to bring us up to speed on where we've been over this while?
We've been knee deep, chest deep, I don't know, maybe head deep in clutter.
Oh no.
Stuff. We're in full-blown packing mode, and not just packing for ourselves. Well, actually my parents are doing their own packing, but we're helping them move.
I've actually been enjoying this part. We had a group coaching class a couple weeks. Was it 2 weeks ago that we were talking about the power of helping others?
Yes.
And it occurred to me somewhere along the process, clearly inspired by you, that the best thing that we could do to help would be to really help with this move. And I think it hit home when some movers came over that were clearly shady at best.
Yes, they came over to give my dad an estimate on how much it would cost to move. And it just didn't feel good while they were here. And I'm thinking, and you're thinking, why do they need to hire movers? We've been going to the gym. We've been working our core and even our back muscles. We've been training for this.
Absolutely.
I hadn't known it, but for the past 2 years, we've been going to the gym for this specific purpose.
Woohoo! And yes, and they got from an uncle in the family. I guess that's why they're an uncle. They're in the family. But we have a beautiful moving truck that I assume they'd be using all the time. That's been down in the driveway for weeks.
Yeah. So I think it was you that really took up the torch and decided and. Go ahead.
Oh, no, it's I believe, I don't want to say time is money, although it is in a sense, but I believe in the value of the dollar, and I believe that there are things that you pay to get help when you need it. But this struck me as a situation where I could help a move, we could help a move, it'd be fun, it would help us with an energy shift of getting ourselves moved. It seemed ridiculously simple, relatively speaking, and I got very protective of my father-in-law.
Yeah. You don't like seeing him getting taken advantage of.
No. And so I was like, look, we're going to the gym every morning anyway. Instead of going to the gym and lifting iron, which gets us stronger, but nowhere, we could lift boxes, which actually is a move.
Yeah. I mean, we've never really particularly liked using machines to work out. And that's why we've gravitated towards those TRX straps and other movements that are really just, lifting your own body weight. So lifting boxes is a lot more natural of a movement. I mean, just not that you lift boxes in nature, but it's closer to a boulder or a log or whatever.
I'm picturing ancient man trying to move boulders going, why? Why would I be doing this? They say you must go to gym. But it's working. I had a great time this morning. I don't know if we can say slept in late, but Sir Meowsers, all of the cats have had their own schedule going on since we've been getting a party on in this house. Meowsers had gotten you up early, and so I wanted to let you sleep. And so I, loaded up the truck myself this morning, drove it over, unloaded, everything got to the right room, their T1, B1, or F1, or whatever these rooms are labeled. And I had fun doing it.
Oh, I'm glad, because I had fun sleeping in. Because, yeah, my whole sleep schedule and the kitty's sleep schedule is way off. My routines are way off. I'm still, though, making sure that I get in my key foundational self-care items in. But other than that, I've been okay. I've been allowing for this flux. Because to kick myself for not getting, automatic writing in one morning would just not be helpful. I don't think that's what the guides would want me to do anyway.
Quite the opposite. So it has been a super for me as well, kind, gentle, easy, good. Okay, I got to bed on time today, and then the next day, okay, it's 3 hours later. Yeah. Today I got my meditation one day last week. Everybody gasped in group coaching when I mentioned it. It was so sacrilege. I skipped meditation so I could go straight into my automatic writing. And I'm just going with the flow, letting, even occasionally not getting out to the trails. I know. But go for it.
Oh, I was just thinking about one of the reasons I feel okay skipping automatic writing, and maybe it's an excuse, but I don't really feel like it is that I've been reading Paul Selig's latest book. Actually, it's an advanced copy. His new book, The Book of Truth, comes out in June, so it's not open or it's not for sale to the public yet. And it's a channeled text, as all of his books have been so far. And I feel like the guides that are speaking through Paul in this book are the same guides that would speak to me during automatic writing. So during a time where it's a little difficult for me to quiet my mind and get into automatic writing, I can read this book, and it's really been so... I mean, when things come into your life and you're like, this is like perfect timing. This is exactly what I need right now. And this book is so perfectly matched to what's going on in our lives right now. I'm like, this is meant to be.
Can you give an example?
So the whole crux of the book, and I'm going to do my best to give it justice, but because it's written so eloquently. I mean, and there's so much meaning in every single word. I often reread passages just to like grasp or attempt to grasp the depth of the text. Just briefly, the whole thing is talking about how through this entire series, they've been taking the readers on a journey, and they've been giving the reader an opportunity to align to a higher vibration, to discover your true self. And in that higher vibration, there is only truth. And where there's only truth, there can be no lies and there can be no fear. But in order to align to that higher vibration, and it's a choice. Just by reading the text, it's not just going to happen. You have to agree to what they're gifting you, and you don't just agree once. It's this perpetual agreement. But in that process of agreeing to a higher vibration, your small self has to let go of control. It has to, basically, your life, you're opening up your life to become dismantled. And that's exactly what's happening
What a
in my
perfect
life
word
right
choice.
now. I'm not sure about yours, but I feel like everything around me is being dismantled.
Well, I'm hearing outside, and you probably can't hear it because we have great studio set up here. But they're literally hammering on masonry or wood down the street as you're saying dismantled, and that's about what it's been like in the house. We've been hearing things like being hammered in other rooms, things being dragged across the studio. Turned into a staging area for a few weeks for the move. So yes, it has felt like living inside a Vitamix.
Yeah. And it's extremely uncomfortable for me. Like yesterday, we were in the same room packing, or I don't know, it was like a game of Tetris. We were trying to get a sense of how much space we really needed to see how big of a truck we would rent. And I wasn't really looking at everything in the room. I was just looking at, like, what's in front of me, just trying to take things one step at a time. But there was a sense of overwhelm. Mm-hmm. And when I started to speak to you about it, like, tears started streaming down my face. And I was like, I don't even know exactly what this is about. I mean, there's like a whole laundry list of things this could possibly be about, the tears. But I don't know exactly. And I don't even remember where I was going with that.
Well, something to do with the word dismantling. Dismantling was the word that we were talking about, and I talked about how it felt like to be in a blender. And I know one place we can take it if we can leave from the Paul Selig book for a minute.
Sure.
You have had to. I'm not sure if the exact term is to relive your childhood, but this is a life review. You've been getting a life review through this process.
Yeah, that's what I've been calling it. For a little bit over the first half of my life, because I basically grew up here, and when I was in college, I would come back for the summers, most summers. And then after I graduated, I came back for a little bit before I went off to the Peace Corps. And then I still bounced around. I was sort of a gypsy in that I moved around every couple of years. And this home was always my home base. I always came back here, and it felt like this is where my roots were. And it was also like my storage place.
and for those who haven't followed the whole story, when you got sick on Maui and we both proverbially got our butts kicked, this is where we ended up as kind of home base, safety zone.
For the last 2 years, for me to feel like I was in a safe, secure, stable place to heal and get strong again. And that's exactly what happened. And so I did start the process of reviewing things a few months back, but now we're like full throttle. And we should talk about why we're all of a sudden full throttle in just a bit. But yeah, it's been really fascinating. I'm most interested in things that I wrote in journals and old notes and letters and like short little poems. It's given me a lot of insight to where I was at and why there was so much sadness, and not all sadness.
But you mean sadness growing up?
Yes, yeah. Because I was actually asking a lot of the same questions that I ask now, except I wasn't getting any answers. And I didn't think there were answers. I thought that there were questions that could never be answered. Mm-hmm. Like, why am I here? What is the point? I remember in high school, and probably earlier than that, but definitely in high school, I was wondering, what is the point of getting good grades so I can get into a good college, so I can get a good job and make lots of money? Like that, I wasn't seeing how that was fulfilling. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and still I'm asking, why am I here on a daily basis? But there's more. I'm getting answers now. And it's much deeper and more profound than making lots of money.
Not that anything's wrong with that, but you don't have the bumper sticker on your car now that says what? She who dies with the most toys wins.
Are there really bumper stickers that say that?
We actually sold it at the ski market where I worked at growing up. Yes, and that was a big seller. But I put the she on. It was actually he who dies with the most toys win. So that you could go and put that on your toy car or whatever you got and pick up your nice skis. Not that there's anything wrong with nice skis, but...
Yeah, I mean, or bicycles. We've got a whole bunch of bicycles.
Yeah, in fact, that's part of the packing.
We were just wondering
Tandem.
How many car roof racks do we have? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with money or stuff. If that stuff brings you a lot of joy, and cycling does bring us a lot of joy, and our tandem actually was played an integral part in bringing me back to my health. You were going out for bike rides, and I wanted to go too, but I didn't have the energy. I didn't think. I mean, there was fear that if we went out, I wouldn't have the energy to pedal back. And this is our first year back, and I was still chronically fatigued. So we got the tandem so that I could ride him back. And if I ran out of fuel, you could basically bring us home.
And it served its job magnificently. Moving forward, it's interesting because we're going, and maybe we go into that story in a minute, but we're going to be someplace where there's water. And so we've been talking about getting kayaks, and even when I was tapping, and I was coaching earlier today and doing some tapping work, what popped up in me was the deep sadness that I get to address from when we left Maui, and I had just fallen in love with canoeing, using an open rigger Hawaiian canoe with 6 or 8 of us canoeing at the same time, and falling in love with the water, and that was such a bittersweet memory. It really, if there's one, I don't want to use the term regret, but it's that I didn't experience and play in the water more. And so now we're going down, and we're going to get to play in the water where we're moving. And you were talking to me about kayaks, and instead of getting a 2-person kayak, a tandem kayak, to show where you are in your growth, what did you say?
I said I think we should get 2 individual single kayaks. Because, I want to power my own boat.
And I thought that was awesome.
And I'd like to steer it, too.
There's so many directions we can go in that, which is perfectly awesome.
One thing I want to say about what you discovered in Hawaii in our last few weeks there is that I think it's a gift. It's a gift that you learned or relearned, that you have this love for being close to the water, because you had forgotten for a long time, since you lived in Colorado for 20 years and there's not a whole lot of water in the desert-like conditions.
It's so true. So you're right. That was a seed planted in Maui. We got back here, and at some point we took a trip to Cape May on the southeastern seaboard of New Jersey. And maybe it was after we had visited a lake a few times, the light was starting to go on. And then we took a trip to Cape May, and the light was on like hugely so. And so on birthdays and other occasions, you were like, I know, Michael, you're going to complain and you don't really want to drive all that far, but I know you're going to love it if we go to the coast. And so you drag us to the coast, and the light would go on, and you drag us back, not so hard the next time, and the light would go on. And I got it. That water, at least at this point in our lives, it's hugely important. And we even tried to buy a sailboat last summer.
We did, but it wasn't the right time.
No.
Because then we'd be asking, how are we going to get the sailboat down there?
Good point. So last week, we got to tell this story. So last week,
Yeah.
And each week I've been on the show, and particularly with CJ, who for a while, I love you, CJ, but she was driving me nuts because every week she's asking, so do you know where you're moving yet? So
Yes, I mean, we've been talking about moving since at least last summer because we thought it was going to happen at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was starting to feel kind of embarrassed that we're still talking about moving. It's not happening. And I'm like, I think the audience is going to start questioning whether we're actually ever going to move. But we experienced another major manifestation miracle last week.
We did, and so I had just written out we were doing a slideshow for our group coaching last Thursday, and the topic was trust, or the first half of the class was on trust and faith. And the last slide I made right before the call was, I'm like, well, we have to share where we're at in our manifestation story of moving to Emerald Isle. And for those of you who haven't heard, we're going to be moving for the fall to Emerald Isle, which is this crystal clean shoreline, 21 or 22 mile island, of which Emerald Isle is a part of, that actually faces south just off the North Carolina coast. And even in the wintertime, because it faces south, you can actually get sunrise and sunset over the water on the East Coast. So it's pretty special, very quiet, some very spiritual people, and just, I feel, a great place for the next step in our lives. We had just turned down a couple weeks ago. We couldn't find a place there for the summer. We have a place there in the fall. We couldn't find a place for the summer, and Jessica went down and visited and found a backup place for us, but it's about 20 minutes inland. And though I hadn't visited it, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel... I have so many books inside of me that I want to write since we've been interviewing so many amazing guests, and I see myself leaving the studio or leaving writing, walking by the shore, playing in the water, being in this summer activity of being near the beach, and just this exciting, almost vacation-like feel to where we would go next. And so Jessica found this backup place, and 2 weeks ago came the deadline, and without knowing where we're moving, I said, let's pass on that. Something better. This is the Dane here. How does it get any better than this? Something better is going to come. And you've got this beaming ear-to-ear grin now, so I'm wondering, what were you doing in intention work?
Well, so when I went down there to visit Emerald Isle, and we were staying at our friend Marianne's place, which is like the most beautiful, peaceful, I mean, I want to call it like a retreat center because I find it more peaceful than any retreat center that I've been to. While I was down there, I was doing a lot of meditation, and I was setting intentions on finding a place to live in the same community because I loved staying at her place so much, and I loved the community. And so I would do the intention work, and then afterwards I was kind of like, well, I mean, I let go of it, right? That's what you're supposed to do. You set the intention, you visualize it, you really feel what it would be like once it manifests, and then you just let it go because it's not your job to make it happen at that point. And you trust, right? But at the same time, I'd let it go, and then I'd be like, well, yeah, I don't know. That's a long shot. Because in this community, they actually typically don't allow long-term rentals. And to find a place to rent for the summer months only on the whole island is incredibly difficult because landlords make a lot more money when they rent out for just a few days or a week or a couple of weeks. They could make a couple $1,000s in a few days. So it's generally not in their best interest to rent out a place just for the summer, like the summer months. And so the odds seemed really stacked against us. But I kept doing I intention work and just going, well, we'll see.
And for myself, you would tell me the odds. You would say, it may not be very likely, and why would they rent to us? And we're not going to find anything on Zillow and Craigslist. But you were doing the intention work, and I was saying, it's not while I'm looking every day, that's not how it's going to come about. Something magical is going to happen, and we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Marianne because she played an integral role in it coming together. I just had this belief that one person is going to speak to the next person, is going to speak to the next, and pretty much that phone is going to ring and the place is magically going to appear.
Right. But for a while, you were putting the pressure on me. You were like, Jesse, I'm too busy, so if this is going to happen, it's on you. I'm like,
look on Craigslist.
I don't think it's going to happen through us digging on Craigslist or on Zillow or whatever, like pushing to make it happen.
And I eventually shut off just about all of my alerts and said, this is, you are spot on. This is not going to come in the traditional fashion, but it'll come.
Yeah. I mean, I said that, but then I was like, there's a part of me that was still like, well, I don't know.
Oh, there's the part of me, and I talked about it with you, that was like, I can call every single realtor on Emerald Isle. I can put a listing on Craigslist saying, looking for a place. I can blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, you have to practice what you preach. You have to do this. You can do this in your journaling, in your automatic writing. You have to put yourself in that space, see it, feel it, believe in it, give thanks for being here in the present moment, and then step away from the hot potato.
Yeah. Now that this has happened, and this is our second major manifestation miracle in the last...
We didn't even say... I should say
6 months.
I should say how it happened first.
Yeah.
So and
forgot
and then,
about that part.
Yeah. So last Thursday, wow, time is flying. So today's only Monday, and it seems like weeks ago. So last Thursday, we're holding our Trust and Faith class. Last slide that I'm making, right before class, says Emerald Isle, our story, ... And I figured I'd get them up to speed that we're practicing what we preach. We believe it's going to come through. We'll update you as soon as it happens. And we're having faith and trust in the universe that this is going to take place. And so I finished the slide, our story, ... And you come into the studio from the other room with cell phone in hand because
the realtor just called, and it was a miracle that my cell phone was on anyway. I'm not sure why it was, because I always have it on airplane mode.
We're not very good at cell phones or for people phoning us and getting a hold of us.
And she had called to let us know about a place in the same community as Marianne's place where we'll be living or moving to in September. Just maybe 200 yards away.
One block or one, what did you call it? Not estuary, not marsh, one lagoon away.
Yeah. That was available for us to rent. And it did not come through traditional means. It wasn't listed as a rental. It was actually listed for sale.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely dumbfounding. You write the slide, and then there's the answer right there.
It was just like when we were eating our buy one, get one half off burritos.
I'm going to miss those things.
What are you doing later today?
Woohoo!
And we were talking about where we were going to move to.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, surely we know somebody who has, an extra ohana or cottage on their property that they're not using, or, some out of the ordinary you couldn't find on Craigslist or Zillow situation. And when we got home, what happened?
I got was it an email or a call within 3 hours. 3 hours. 3 hours. It's still dumbfounding. Because for a year and a half, we were going, I don't know where we're going to go. We've thought about this way too much. We've looked on the computer way too much. We've looked on at every town and community and Googled this, that, and the other thing. This is not going to be a think about it decision. This is going to be, go for it.
I was just going to say that you were looking on maps and on like websites, like best communities or towns on lakes because you wanted to be right by the water.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you looked at every single lake in California.
I did.
And I was still throwing Sedona in there because I love Sedona, Arizona. There's no water there. And then the astrocartographer told us that if we moved to Colorado or that like swath of land somewhere in there, that according to my chart, I would like bounce us out of there in like a year or two. And we had never considered North Carolina.
It's interesting. It goes back to some of the shows that we've talked about or had guests on about we take in, 1 trillion bits of information, and we only actually process 40,000 bits of information at any one moment. The rest we discard. It's why even if you get 2 people who see the same car accident, the same crime, they saw it completely differently. Not that either of them is lying, but because their filter only focused on a certain element. And our filter was focusing on West Coast or Southwest or somewhere west is what the filter was looking for.
I think even Canada was an option briefly.
Everything was on the table, at least a little bit, although we really wanted to say stateside for this period in our lives. But we threw everything on the table. When the astrocartographer, she was talking to us about Asia and Peru but she did drop one clue that because of our filter and that 40,000 bits of information, we completely overlooked.
Yeah, she said the East Coast would be very sweet for us. And we're like, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, we healed. Let's move on now and throw us in the fires. Yeah, she said it was very sweet.
So this is a perfect example of we really don't know what's the best for us.
No, when we do automatic writing, when you do your intention work, put in there, or something better. Be open. Put down everything you want. Put down the essence of it, what the heart feels behind it, because that leaves room for something greater than you could have imagined.
So I want to talk a little bit about the intention work that I've been doing. It's sort of like a quick and dirty exercise that I do every morning, and it's working really well for me right now because I can still get it done every single morning. And it's something that Brian Tracy talked about in his interview, which is every day he writes in his blue notebook a list of his goals. And he didn't specify whether it was like goals for the day or the month or the year. I'm just kind of making it short-term goals and long-term goals. So goals within the next few months and then goals for the year and next year. That's just what I'm finding is working for me. And ever since we found out that we had secured a place in our favorite neighborhood on Emerald Isle, my intentions have changed dramatically.
I'm excited. I haven't heard about this yet.
Yeah, I mean, I had talked about or thought about, even when we were back on Maui, I was like, yeah, maybe someday I'll take kite surfing classes. And now it's like, yeah, I want to take kite surfing classes this summer.
I had no idea.
And there are other goals that are specifically related to being on Emerald Isle in that environment. And the activity of writing down these goals is becoming more and more exciting to me. And it just goes to show that when you take one step forward, it's like you get this burst of energy, and with each subsequent step, you get even more and more energy driving you towards what you want to attract into your life.
What's so cool to me from what you're saying, and I'm drawing this out to everybody who's listening, is often those first steps have trepidation, they have some fear behind it. They're not very exciting, although fear, how does it go? Fear is excitement without movement. Meaning, once you start moving, you get excited. So for yourself, it wasn't very exciting. It was fearful, packing and getting ready at the beginning. Once the place appeared, I think you switched to full-blown excitement. With some terror blended in.
There's some truth to that, but I think what also happened is you kicked it into high gear. And you had this new profound sense of you're just on a mission now. And one thing I noticed is that when somebody around me has a lot of energy, it's easy for me to get caught up in that and to just let myself go with that energy, because it's like an attractor magnet. So it's like you're drawing my energy into your energy vortex. and it actually was a bit too much. I had to say, all right, I'm taking a break. I gotta go lay down with the kitties for a while. And I wouldn't even be able to fall asleep because there was just so much energy. I couldn't calm my body down enough. So I just lay there on the bed with at least 2 cats on each side of me. And it was deeply relaxing, and it actually felt like I had napped. But it's something, I think, it's something for me at least to be mindful of, which is not to get caught up in somebody else's energy unless I consciously choose to be.
And I admit to having, we've run a 7-day show for quite a while. We did it for a lot of shows. And now we're down to 5 days a week, which means theoretically inside of me, I have more energy to spare. And so I have cracked out that energy to help your parents move as well. Come along, everyone.
I think ever since I've met you, you've had energy to spare. And when I wasn't mindful, particularly in the early years of our relationship and then marriage, I was getting dragged.
Oh no. Guilty as charged. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I let myself. I let go. I lost track of me during those years. And I let it happen, and then I got some beautiful lessons out of it.
Well put. Well, for this summer for myself, I know, first off, I am beyond chomping at a bit to get our automatic writing book out. And automatic writing is chomping at the bit for me to get our automatic writing book out. So I'm going to be writing a lot, but I'm feeling adventure calling. And I'm feeling running long distances, doing something adventurous again, that the time is right. So I'm going to be using some of that energy for good rather than evil. But I've had down in my intention journal that I feel like we're moving to a playground or an Olympic training center, which I've had experience with. So why not? This is our Olympic training center. I want to see if I can get, at this point in my life, in the best shape I've ever been in my life.
Yeah, I've actually written that down too, and it's never really been at the forefront of what I've been interested in, because I always thought, oh, that's Michael's thing. He wants to test the limits of his body. I don't. That sounds painful, so I don't really think I want to go there. But I actually started writing down. I want to get into the best fitness of my entire life. And simply because I think it'd be really fun to do all those activities like kayaking and actually I put down like learn how to swim properly. I mean, I can stay afloat, but it's just not a pretty sight. So that's in my book of intentions.
Awesome. And that there's pressure on me as that's one thing that I haven't really taught in any great detail. Can I do that, or do we need to hire a pro to do that? That's a good question, because I love distance swimming, and it'd be awesome to have you along with me. Although, again, going back to the song of years gone by, anything I can do, you can do better. You wouldn't be comfortable just swimming in my draft over time.
I don't know. I'm pretty comfortable cycling in your draft.
Touche. Good point. So let's talk. Well, first off, going back to intention work real briefly, and then I want to talk about your new perspective or shift that's been coming with this change. I feel just so supported right now. When you start to see things come into your life, you've done the work, and then the things start to appear. Not only is there an amount of gratitude, and my gratitude is through the roof right now, but you start to realize that things will happen for you. Things will take place.
You gain confidence, and your trust grows. Just like you were talking in the last class. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Well, trust is a muscle. It certainly is. And so the more that you put yourself out there, and it certainly is the Silicon Valley entrepreneur of jump off the cliff and the wings will appear, or grow the wings on the way down, or build the wings on the way down. The more that you put yourself out there into the discomfort, into the unknown, and see the magic and see the miracles take place, the more comfortable you get doing that and knowing that that will take place. And that's how you drive across the country from 1 mile to the next mile. It's the way that you accomplish anything, not just big, but I believe anything small as well, is you start to build that trust muscle. And I think our trust muscle, well, it sounds like you want to jump in. Go for it.
Oh, well, I mentioned earlier that this was the second major manifestation miracle that we experienced in the last 6 months. And just for those who are just tuning in and haven't heard our story from last fall, we were going through a tax audit at the end of last year. And we set our intentions for not just owing nothing, but getting a refund. And I remember like writing that down and then doing my meditations on it and going, yeah, I don't know about the refund part, but whatever, let's see what happens. And we didn't get a refund from the tax audit itself. We got a refund from a previous year, but we didn't get a refund from the audit itself. We got a refund from a previous tax year, but we did manage to build a case and convince the IRS that we do not owe anything as a result of this tax audit. And that, to me, that was a huge miracle. I've never heard of anyone owing zero after an audit. It's basically their job to extract money from you.
To find it somewhere, anywhere. And we had built, because this was a continuation of an audit from years ago, where we had built a massive case. I think we, quote, lost a year and a half of our lives worrying, fretting, planning, building. You built, I don't know how many binders that were, 2-3 inches thick, these massive things.
Yeah.
Hiring a high-powered attorney, doing everything we could, and we still owed from that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely went overboard, and it was not worth the time and money. But anyway, the point is, after that happened, after we received news that we owned nothing, that started to build our trust. And so when it came around to manifesting a home for the summer, it felt a little bit easier. I was more convinced this time that it would actually happen, even though I still had that little seed of doubt that was like, well, I don't know. And I think part of the reason I had that doubt too, though, was I was still open to the universe providing a place that I hadn't thought of that might actually be better. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the I don't know came from.
And I kept on in automatic writing. I kept on asking, is this other place where we're supposed to be? And I'd get a nope. You are supposed to be, I call it on the beach. We're a block off of the beach. You are supposed to be on the beach. You are supposed to be on the island. We'll take care of it. I haven't gone back. I need to go back to Thursday's automatic writing and see what it says, because I know at least once last week it said something special is going to happen today. And I want to see if it's that day that I was getting that. But now I feel like we really are, and we all are this. We just get to build this trust in ourselves, in the universe, in this process. I feel like we're really attractor magnets. And so now the next step and the next step are going to appear. And I won't say everything is always easy, because the learnings come out of challenges. But with that said, I think some really special stuff is going to come our way now because of our greater trust and faith and belief. We're drinking from the Kool-Aid and finding it's working.
And also, I think we're more aware of potential counter intentions. Parts of you that may not want something out of fear that you're not completely aware of.
That's what I've been doing for a lot of my coaching work, and it's mainly individual coaching work right now, has been focusing on the counter intentions of it's great if you're building a house up above you and build the strongest house you want, but if you haven't healed that foundation, which is either built in quicksand or doesn't want anything built on top of it, then it comes crumbling down. You need to work on those subconscious blocks in order that what your conscious mind wants, you can bring about.
I think that's part of the beauty of me having the opportunity to live back in my parents' home for 2 years, which is, almost on a daily basis, I'm faced with the same kind of, I'm reminded of the programming that I got as a child from my interactions with my parents. And I'm going, oh, I see what's happening here. I see why I thought or believed that. And I see how I'm still trying to replay or live out the patterns that are really from my ancestors. I mean, my parents are living out a lot of the same patterns from their parents and their grandparents and so on. And yeah, so a lot of that has come up to the surface in the last couple of years, and probably a lot more in the last few months as I've been going through my stuff.
Literally and metaphorically.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's time to talk about the piano now, or if we should save that for the next show.
We've got about 10 minutes, so go for what you want. The 3 topics that I had that we could talk about are piano, a new perspective on parents' home, and me flexing my moving muscles.
Okay, let's talk about the piano because it just came up. So I think, gosh, I don't know how long ago, but a while back I had a dream. Really, it was kind of like a nightmare. I went downstairs. I walked into the room where the piano usually is, and it wasn't there. And I realized that my dad had gotten rid of the piano that I played on as a child that I really wanted to keep. This is my dream. And I got really upset, and I woke up and I felt really upset that this happened without my knowledge. And then a couple days later, I see my dad cleaning off the piano, and he's pulled the cover off and he's getting ready to take photos of it to put on Craigslist without discussing it with me. And I got really upset, and we got into this argument about it. And he was talking about how it was impractical for me to try and keep the piano because at that point we didn't know where we were going and it'd be costly to move and blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to sell it and give us the money. And I'm like, but that's not what I want. And it was the classic, you think you know what's best for me, but you don't kind of thing. Which, by the way, I was also doing to my parents, thinking I know what's best for my parents. Anyway, we won't get into that today. So at one point, you and I got into a little argument about it because you wanted me to stand up for myself. And I'm like, I thought I just did, but apparently my opinion doesn't matter. And I got a really big lesson in that, and where my belief of my opinion doesn't matter comes from, partially from. Okay, so long story short, we convinced him to keep the piano and that we would take care of it. We would find a place for it. Either we were going to move it with us or find a temporary home for it or a storage facility. Whatever, it didn't matter. He shouldn't think about it anymore because it's no longer his responsibility. And as we were nearing our moving date a couple of weeks ago, you kicked it into higher gear, which I'm so appreciative of because you're just really good at it. And you found a temporary home for it. And I was so excited. And you were so excited. And we were so excited that we interrupted my parents' dinner to tell them that we had found a place for it. And it was just like half an hour away in New Jersey. And they're kind of like, their reaction. Why don't you share what the reaction was like?
Well, I didn't get the subtle undertones that were saying, yeah, but I was like, this is exciting. Guys, why aren't you excited? We found a home for it. We've got a place for it. And thank you, Mark and Amy and everyone. We love you guys so much. So I'm over the top excited. They were, okay, that's good, but they weren't excited about it.
Yeah. And they tend not to really express excitement as much as you and I do, but they're like even less excited than normally not excited. So 2 days later, I'm in the kitchen cooking, and my dad comes up to me and he's got this look on his face, which is like, I need to talk to you, which I still dread. At this age, it's like oh no, not another lecture. And but it wasn't a lecture. He said, I didn't want to tell you, but I actually decided to keep the piano. I decided to move the piano to our new home. And I'm like, when did you decide this? And he said, after we went down to Emerald Isle, I realized that you guys are serious about moving into your own place. And now I trust that eventually you're going to be able to move the piano with you. And I'm like, why didn't you tell us? And he said, I wanted to pressure you.
Deep breaths.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of emotion at that point because I'm like, the words in my head are basically like, and actually I think they came out too, was, why would you do that? Like, as if we don't have enough pressure as it is, with everything else going on in our lives. Like, I was just incredulous, like, and it was just bringing up all of this sadness and disappointment from my childhood, where I felt manipulated, and it's so like it felt like so beyond my scope of understanding. Like, how could it's just nothing that I would ever do. At least I don't think I would do on a conscious level. Hopefully I would never do. And yeah, I was really, really angry. And at the same time, that anger dissipated pretty quickly. And I was actually surprised because I thought this was something that I would hold a grudge for a while. I don't usually hold grudges, but it was a big deal to me. And, there's all the past emotions that came up too. But I think there's been this transformation happening, partially due to reading Paul Selig's book, which is when you're aligning to a higher vibration and you're aligning to truth, you see yourself, you see others, and you see situations from a higher plane. You see the truth of what's going on. And yeah, it's easy for somebody to say, well, he's just doing what he thinks is best for you. And you get that on some level, but I mean, how many times have you heard that about your parents and still felt like anger? But this time it happened at a deeper level. This deeper understanding of, he really did think that he was doing the best thing for me. Like, he really did think manipulating me to take certain actions. I don't know which specific actions. Maybe just to teach us that, like, things don't just, like, I don't know if he really gets that we believe in miracles. And maybe he's, like, trying to show us, miracles don't happen. That
when we first moved here and they were going to help us get back on our feet and get you healthy, they wrote down something for me, and it said specifically on it something to the effect of Michael, this is a cold, cruel world, was like the starting line.
Yeah. It's like he wanted us to face his reality and not get hurt in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And so he thought he was protecting me.
Yeah, when he wrote that years ago, I know it was out of love.
The beauty is, we don't, at least, I guess I should just speak for myself, because there must have been part of me that has still been playing out my parents' reality. Because when I was growing up, they created reality for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just naturally believed, well, yeah, that's just the way the things are. And so I would operate within their reality. And it's been a gradual process of dismantling their reality for a new one, a reality that's filled and seen with more truth. And I like this new reality better.
And so in the new reality, where's the piano going?
You mean in the long run?
No, in the short run.
Oh, it's going to my parents' house, and this is a beautiful thing, which is my dad told me that he wants to start taking piano lessons for the first time in his life, and he was actually excited about it as he was talking to me, and as I mentioned earlier, they don't really express excitement a whole lot. They do get excited around babies. They get super excited around my niece and nephew, and that's a beautiful thing to see. But other than that, not much. And he said he's going to get some lessons from my aunt for a little bit, and then he's just going to watch YouTube and learn from YouTube how to play the piano, because he wants to stimulate his brain, because he's finally understanding that neuroplasticity is real and you can change your brain at any age, and that made me really happy. So that was another silver lining. So
to bring it full circle, we were told he was selling the piano. Then we said, don't sell the piano. We'll find a home for it. Then we found a home for it. And then he said, I don't want it to go to that home because I'm going to take it with me so I can learn piano lessons. And at the end of the day, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then once we buy our own place and move in, that we can have the piano back.
And we'll have to see how his piano playing is going at that point.
But, at that point, if he's having a blast with it, I'm happy if he keeps the piano.
Absolutely. Woohoo!
Woo! Okay. So, how many times have we moved together? We moved... Have you kept count?
We moved from Boulder to Tues.
First we moved everything into a storage unit when we went on a book tour.
Okay, so moved to the storage unit to book tour to Northern Boulder to Tues house to, I guess
Back to
briefly.
Boulder.
Oh, okay. Yep, you're right. Forgot about that one. That's 4 or 5 so far. Keep going.
And then to New Jersey.
Yeah.
And then to Maui. So 6 times.
Yeah.
At least one of those times we didn't really have much stuff. So let's just say 5. So during the past 5 moves in the last, what year is it? 8 years we've been together.
I think you're giving me too much credit. We still have the move from Maui to here.
Oh, okay. 6. Right. I guess I forgot about that. A lot of brain fog. But Michael has never participated in the packing prior to a move.
If you can't see this, everybody, for those on YouTube, you can. I can't even open my eyes. My face is scrambling into a prune.
He is hanging his head in shame, but he is redeeming himself.
I am so sorry.
So redeeming himself this time because he's actually packing and packing with a vengeance. I didn't know it was possible. I thought like you had, I don't know. I thought your brain was too scrambled to do this sort of thing and you hadn't healed from your brain trauma enough yet. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
It's something that we've talked about, or I've talked about a lot recently, which is and maybe it's come out of the shows. I mean, we've both been on a very beautiful path in life, but certainly with all of the amazing guests we've had on the show, with all of the learnings we've gotten through the past few years, both you and I have changed in such a beautiful way. And so when you go, well, you've never done this in the past, or you always do blah, blah, blah in the past, I'm like, I'm not trying to say this, I am really not, and none of us are, but I am really not the person I was in the past. You can't get this Kool-Aid so many times in a row before you start to embody it and make different decisions or call yourself on your own poop the second you see it.
Yep, you have. I mean, it's really miraculous how much you've changed.
So I'm enjoying the packing, and I'm ready to do more of it, and we should get off the air here, let everybody enjoy their beautiful, beautiful days, or hopefully we've helped you to enjoy your beautiful, beautiful day, and then we'll get back to packing, and who knows, maybe a burrito ourselves. Any last words of wisdom, Ms. Lee?
I think that deserves a Mookie or 2, or a dozen.
Oh, I'll take Mookie's anytime you want to make it. Muffin top chocolate chip cookies. They are beyond divine.
Don't forget the blueberries.
Oh, yes, blueberries. And you've added that secret ingredient. The new secret ingredient is?
Raisins.
Woohoo! And almost no...
sugar.
Woohoo! Instead,
that would be the bananas.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and Mookie making...
Jessica Lee.
That just did not sound right.
I'm like, do I really want to say my name right then? Okay.
Saying, be well, have fun, see the beauty in the change in your life, no matter what, and shine bright. Woohoo! Awesome, awesome, awesome.
I'm waiting to drink my pomegranate tea. I'm parched.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!